So we're back here at this location that we scouted earlier today, and I'm really excited. We did the changes that I talked about, coming here tonight, moving the horse till tomorrow morning. The light that shines through is the light quality that I love. Just the texture you see now on top of these tufts of grass here, it's extraordinary. I just love it. So a few things about the process. Now I got to imagine where the tracks goes. So for me, there's a slope to the tracks that we're going to photograph. So I imagine them coming from the left in the camera and then traveling this way into the frame and along the trees and bending inwards. Now, instead of shooting the tracks down this way, which is what most people think about train tracks coming into the picture, I want to see the face of our models. It's going to be this young, beautiful woman with a dress flowing behind, giving a sense of movement. And there's going to be an older guy on the cart, helping her do the movement with the hand cart, pushing her forward. I would love to see them, so I'm going to shoot them this way, so that the cart comes this way, and so I can see their faces like this. Then it bends inward, and we follow the tracks into the photograph. So in doing that, I got to front focus where I imagine them to be. Don't focus on the background, because then I'm going to have focus issues. So I focus right here. I do a sweep, left and then right, so that I have this whole massive vista. Now in doing that, the mountains get small. So I have a second camera right here with a longer lens, so I could zoom in on the mountains, and in post I think I'll bring them closer to me so that I get the bigness of that and the beauty, but also the wide angle lens, which will give me volume right here in front. So it's a little bit of a two-piece process, 3-4-piece process. I'm going to keep on shooting. As you see, the sun is about to hit the trees there, and this area is falling into shade. I love that. We're going to have low Rican light on our talent as well. Maybe I'll shoot into shadow so that we can shoot them in shadow, just let the background dapple in the sun. Be beautiful. My process is always this. Come to a place, put my camera down, and then let the sun sort of shape everything in front of me. I don't run around too much. I try to commit to one angle, one perspective, and let the light do the work rather than me running around shooting a bunch of different things. I did talk about the thought of putting some trees here on the left, maybe putting the river there, because the landscape felt so right-sided, heavy there and not so much here. But in thinking about it and putting the people here, the pictures are going to be balanced anyway. So having trees there, people here, I'm not sure if I need anything else on this side. So I'm going to focus on this background plate, focus on the focus being here, measuring camera height, camera distance to where I imagine the people to be, and then we should be able to, knowing that the sun is right there at this degree from the camera, do a seamless composite in a few days when we're going to shoot at the railroad tracks and the train museum. Let's measure this and see how tall we are. So let's just guesstimate the gravel part for the tracks to be 1.5 feet, and then the height of the height of the cart, 17 inches from bottom of hand cart to the platform. So we're 2.5 feet off the ground before we start talking about them. Can I borrow it for a minute?
See how much that is?
Yeah, from where I stand.
Right here.
So that's pretty good. Wow. So let's measure the camera height too, even though it's just all the legs extended.
Well, camera, go from like the. You want to go from the tripod or the
I'll go to the plate.
film plane?
81 inches.
Yeah, 81 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's make a note of it.
And you said 80 earlier.
It was 80 earlier.
Damn, close. All right, let's do this thing.
One louder. The mountains look great.
I might combine them with the ones earlier, to be honest.
I'm wondering if you want to just do a third under for the mountains, just to get a little more value in them.
You know, where's the other camera? I want to zoom in on those, so maybe I'll. Okay.
looking good, dude.
Just beautiful. Do you want to turn it towards me a little bit, Tom? So I don't have to come down every time. I'm just going to see what's going on there. That's beautiful. All right. So a few things that I want to address while we're here. I'm pretty high up, and imagine if I shoot someone being this high, you would look down on them. Wouldn't maybe be the best picture. Now, I try to keep in mind that there's a gravel berm that the railroad tracks sit upon. So those are going to come up here, probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet off the background that I have. Above that, 17 inches from the bottom of the handcart till where they stand, there's a platform there. So suddenly, when we measured this out, the height of the cart, where they stand, is going to come up to here. So imagine that, that's not too far. Now I'm pretty much eye level with the talent that I want to photograph. So that's why I'm so high, thinking about what's going to happen in the next part of this picture, knowing that they're going to be high up. I need to shoot my background fairly high. All this is important because you can't stand on the ground shooting a backplate with a beautiful background. You have to shoot the background with the mind of something else coming in front. Often, just today actually, when I said, oh, I want to put something on the left-hand side, I was composing for a beautiful landscape. What you have to remember when you do composite work is that you actually compose for the element that's going to be in the foreground. In this case, our woman, the big dress, the cart, and the guy. So it's really important to see this before you shoot the picture. Don't compose for a beautiful landscape, compose for a beautiful landscape with the foreground element imagined in there. Super important. Wow. Guys, I'm really happy. So as you see, as the sun is dipping behind these trees, I'm now falling into shadow. I'm going to shoot here for a little bit longer, but then I'm going to step forward. You see the sun just 30 yards forward here? So I might step forward to keep on shooting this landscape in the sun. One thing that it allows me to do when I am fairly steady and follow the light is to shoot tethered. It allows me to get everything on the computer right away. It backs up automatically. I get to see the shots as they come in instead of just judging things on the back of the screen. I find that really handy. If I were to go hiking on my own, this would be my outfit. 5D, 24/70 and a tripod. But since we're close to the road and it's handy, it's a great vehicle to have the computer next to me so I could see all the stuff that goes on. Real time. So I mentioned it briefly that I set my focus where the foreground element is going to be. It's important for me that I have a focus that sits right where we want the train tracks and the cart to come. So what I have imagined is right where those grasses are, right there, right at the cusp of the shadow. That's where the track is going to come in and it's going to bend through the open landscape here. So I'm focused right where I want to put the tracks, which are those grass tufts right there. It's really important that you see the picture in your mind's eye first and you don't just wing it. Winging it works, but if you want to make sure that things really fall together as one piece, you want to make sure that you know where to focus. You're also going to measure that distance. So when we shoot the other piece, I know that my focus was laying so and so many feet and inches from the camera. So I could pull back. I also have in the metadata the focal length that I shot this on. Now, I'm shooting this with two different focal lengths, one for the foreground, which I love because it gives the landscape volume, but then the mountains get really small and they're a big part of the story. So I shoot them with the longer lens, and I'm going to pull those mountains a little closer to me. Now you can't just plunk down mountains shot with a different lens really close. They've got to be subtle, and we'll talk about that when we do the retouch. So I want to briefly just run through my camera settings if you're curious. You will get the metadata and all that information with the background plates. We're going to give you that for the retouch, but just so you know while I'm here, I'm at f16 and I'm at 50th of a second. ISO is 160. I like ISO 160 for one reason or the other. It's just solid. It's where I like to live. I'm shooting this really sharp at f16. Now I focus on one point, but I don't want to give myself a shallow depth of field for composites. It's a recipe for disaster. So we want to make sure that we have a really solid depth of field so that we do have some play room to move the composite piece that we're going to have in there. It's very important. Now that I'm on a tripod, I can keep on shooting in this light. I can shoot till 10 seconds if I want to, keeping it fairly consistent at around f16. When we shoot the people, we're actually going to do it the other way around, having a shallower depth of field and a faster shutter speed so we can freeze the motion of them up and down on the cart and freezing the dress flying behind. This is fine as long as this is sharp enough through the area where they are going to be. So we do actually want to measure the distance between myself, and you see that sort of dead grassy area right there? Keep on going. So they'll come in right about there, yeah. So those two grassy things right there is where I've been measuring. There's my focus right there. So you got to take a tape measure. Maybe Tom is not there. I'll help you. Do you mind?
Nope.
That's awesome. It's not going to go all the way, so you probably have to do it twice.
You keep going. I just keep going a little. Okay, there we go. 16 feet. That's 15.
Let's straighten it up though a little bit. Yeah, that's exactly 15. 31 feet. Let's put that down. So, looking at the sun and what it does, it's almost gone now from the mountains. When we got here earlier, there was sun hitting the top of the mountains. We saw the streaks of light coming between, and it was really quite beautiful. Down here, the light is better now, especially in this area where it gets really low on the grass. And we're going to move the camera here in a minute to follow the sun a bit. What I want to do in post is in some ways paint and create my own little light quality by using the best light down here and the best light on the mountain and put it together. It's very subtle. It's just half an hour difference. The eye won't tell that that is something that we've done, but it will help me when I create this picture, you know, to be what I think is the best it can possibly be. So let's move the camera further up. I'll do camera, you do tripod. And we'll just worry about the ladder afterwards. All right, so we moved ourselves about 100 yards. Now you see where I was is falling into shade. This still has that low raking beautiful light. Same thing pretty much. I'm going to keep my focus where it was. It's 31 feet out. Imagine now that the train tracks come behind this foreground grass here and travels through. So probably do this a couple of times. If you're lucky, we have another 15 minutes of sun. So I'm going to keep on doing this, grabbing these background plates, following the light a little bit. I just love this. I'm really, really happy with what's going on. Got the cows coming too. They love it as well. So it's all good. You see my hand coming in front of the camera every now and then? When I shoot towards the sun, I like to shoot one exposure, letting the sun flare the camera, And then I shoot one exposure where I put my hand in front of the sun, being able to shoot into the sun without it flaring. And then I replace my hand obviously with the sky afterwards. So if you're wondering what I'm doing up here, it's blocking out the sun, giving myself a shade. Oh, this is it now. Wow. Looks like a painting. So whenever you see people paint, there's always a softness to the light. Not always, for the paintings that I love. And we just had that 2 seconds ago, and I think that would be the frames that I will choose to work with. It's when you don't have the complete sun, but half of it. So only half the sun is cresting the mountains, and it fell across here, and that happens within a few minutes. So you'll talk about that in post, and I'll show you all the captures that we have and how the light sort of changed into now when we're in shade. We'll keep on shooting a few more minutes here, but I think what we just had for a few brief minutes is what we'll use in the end. A light quality that's directional, from behind, giving that glow, but still not too harsh. So I think we got this. I'm really, really excited. And if you can see these captures, I hope you like it as well. Nailing it. So as you see me shoot these, you see me shoot 1, 2, left, right, sometimes 3, left, middle, and right. And I'm pretty tight on the sky, but what we're going to do is to stitch those frames together, and we're going to add a sky on top. So essentially, instead of having a long panorama, we'll get the panorama bottom, and then we'll add a sky to it, and we'll build our frame out. You could say what you want about these Canon cameras, right? They're not maybe as good as the medium formats, but when shooting like this, building out the frame, I'll end up with a file here that's easily 115, 120 megabytes flat. And that's massive. That can be used for any commercial purposes there is. So we're going to stitch this together and make a beautiful, beautiful file that we could zoom into and have plenty of detail. Oh, still beautiful. Oh, maybe, huh? Good idea. Thank you. Beautiful. So it's a little bit after 7. It's been 12 hours since we started our morning in San Francisco, packing our gear, driving all the way across Lake Tahoe, the Sierras, and coming down here to Bishop. It's been a beautiful, beautiful day. And we came here and scouted. We scouted also up on the bluff at the quarry where we're going to shoot the horse. And finding the right light quality for these two pictures was an interesting process, and I'm glad we ended up here for the afternoon. The light was just beautiful, being filtered down between these trees, so we have sort of a mottled, leveled light coming through this grass. So I think we made the right decision moving down here, doing this tonight. Now that the sun has gone down, there's a cooler color tonality to the light, and we're going to explore that tomorrow, so we're going to call it a day here. We could have kept on shooting because this is a beautiful light in its own right, but we want to make the pictures different. This one, warmer, yellower in the light quality, and tomorrow we'll go more pinkish bluish as the sun rises and we get that cool early morning light with almost a little warmth to it. So that's the process. I think we're going to call it a night for today, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning.